Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Third time's a charm. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see everybody. I'm Paul Frey, President of the Chamber. Welcome to our Decision 20 Hagerstown City Council Forum. We're glad to be here. Just a reminder for our COVID guidelines, please, if you're walking around, not seated, not social distancing, wear your mask. We have hand sanitizer at our table. And back behind me to my left, if you haven't been here in the restrooms, use the restrooms, and we also have soap and water, paper towels in there, that as well. We're glad you're here. It is really great to hear conversations and see people in person. Let's be safe so we can continue to do this safely to meet. I know we're almost everyone I've talked to, we're all zoomed out, and it's good to see each other in person, so thanks for being here. I do have a few comments before Aaron comes up. I can feel his breath on my neck here, even though he's got a mask on. I do want to acknowledge our current elected officials in attendance. We have Mayor Bob Bruchey here. Good morning, Mayor. We have three of our council members here, Austin Heffernan, and Keller, Shelley McIntire. And you'll see them up here shortly, and we'll see Councilmember McIntire, or Councilmember Keller, thank you, next week at our forum, so we'll look forward to that. Our candidates here, I still think we're waiting on two. Still waiting on two. We'll have Kristen Alshire, Robert Bruchey, Tiara Burnett, Brooke Grossman, Austin Heffernan, Tekesha Martinez, Shelley McIntire, Perini, and Peter Perini. So thank you for being here. They'll come up here shortly. We'd like to thank our friends at the Maryland Theater and Charlie and Sam's for food and coffee. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And just a couple of announcements, some upcoming events. We have next week again the mayoral forum, and then on the 28th we have the Congressional 6th District. We'll be here again. Tomorrow evening, the 15th, we'll be at the Beacon House for our monthly bash. Everyone is entered in a drawing. You have to register by noon tomorrow. You have to be there to win $4,750. Okay, that doesn't give you incentive to come tomorrow evening to eat some food, have some beverages, and maybe win $4,750. I'm not sure what will. That's real money, folks. Oh, back there they said from the Maryland Theater. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
We have a couple other events coming up. We have our annual economic summit. Anibal Basu will be with us November 5th. That's from 5 to 9 at Fountain Country Club. And then we have our pre-legislative forum at Hagerstown Community College on November 10th. That information is at hagerstown.org. It's now my pleasure to introduce our sponsor. Dwight Clark is the president of Jamison Door, and they're sponsoring these forums. Please help me welcome Dwight.
Good morning. Jamison Door Company has been an integral part of this community for over 114 years. And we are happy and pleased to be able to sponsor events like this that benefit the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for your involvement in the community over these many years. How many? 114 years? 114 plus years, Jamison Door. So thank you.
115.
You don't look that old, but thank you. You wear your age well. Let me just see here. I also want to tell you that this is being recorded. It'll be posted on YouTube. So look for that. If you have folks who have not been here like to see it, or if you'd like to see parts of it again. Again, we have a full set of questions that Aaron's going to run through. He's the founder and president of Design Method Group. He's co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee. And he'll repeat this too for the candidates and also for those in the audience. We're going to move quickly. We have a number of questions. We want to cover a number of topics. And so you'll have a certain amount of time for each question, which Aaron will tell you. You have a timekeeper up here. When your time is up, you're going to see a warning light. Set
15 seconds.
15 seconds, you'll see the yellow card. And then when your time is up, you'll see a light that looks like the police officer's pulling you over. So you'll see that. We ask that you finish in a timely fashion. If you don't need the whole time, you don't have to take the whole time. But when you see the light, please stop. If you keep going, we're going to turn off the microphone. So it's not out of disrespect. We want to keep moving. So with that, please help me welcome Peteranecz, our moderator.
I think we'll have all the candidates come up, please. Right now. Right now. Just so I can see these here. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. First off, we had pre-form questions that we sent out to all of the candidates that we will post online. We originally those conversations and how it is influencing your run for office. We'll start with Ms. Grossman.
Thanks, Tiara.
You're welcome.
So I talk with City of Hagerstown business owners pretty frequently. One, because in my professional life, I work in the field of workforce development, right? So I can actually say one of the things that motivated me to run, right, was helping our business owners connect with the workforce that they need to maintain their business. We hear often, especially entry-level positions, they're hard to fill, they're hard to keep maintained, people don't show up, they don't come back. And just last week I had a conversation with FO Day, right, who also needs skilled workers. We have a large population of young people that we're working with right now that can fill those needs. So we had a conversation with them about, one, what do they need? What training do they need before they come in? How can we equip them? And then how do we connect those young people to that training and provide the resource then to wrap around the person and the business to ensure that they can say that they have a long-term workforce. A lot of their workforce is aging out and they need people with those bases.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey.
Same question.
Same question.
Well, do I need this by any chance?
Yeah, for the internet.
We're recording. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, so probably the amount of business owners that I've talked to the past 60 days, I don't know, roughly more than 15. I will tell you that I hear from them the same thing that I hear all the time. That has been the mantra of what's happening in Hagerstown for the past 25, 30 years. Yesterday, a conversation I had with one who was moving into a new business building was, you know, we aren't friendly enough. We don't do enough to make business happen, and we don't do enough when it comes to being able to help people move along with redeveloping a property. That's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why I still want to be involved, is because I still believe that there are issues that we need to address that haven't been addressed yet when it comes to permits, inspections, and things like that.
Thank you. Mr. Perini.
Is it on? Okay. Okay. Good morning. My name is Peter Perini, and I'd like to thank the Chamber for having this forum this morning. And, I did keep track of city business owners. I'm thrilled that there are actually business owners that actually do live in the city. A lot don't. But on the other hand, I think the last conversation I had, or the most recent conversation, was with one of the businesses that are in farmers market, and we had a really long conversation, a good conversation about the pros and cons of the farmers market and how it helps the community. It happens to be one of the bigger stands, so they truck in everything that they have there, and then they have to take it all back out at the end of the weekend. And it really gave me a lot of ideas, because I'm really excited about the farmers market, what can be done with that going forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Good morning, everybody. I'd say in the last, you said 60 days or 30 days? 60 days. I'd say about 10. And the last conversation I had was actually with the owner of JP Minnow. I went in and I wanted to buy other people coffee, and I thought it might be a good idea to have a buy your friend a coffee, kind of like a board and that kind of honor system. As far as supporting local businesses, I make it a point to go and support local businesses, whether they're downtown, whether they're over by the mall, whatever. I think that people don't support businesses, people support people, and relationships absolutely matter.
Thank you. Mr. Heffernan.
Good morning. Last 60 days, I don't even have a count. I've talked to a number of businesses walking around, a number of developers, off and on about projects and that type of thing that they're contemplating or working on. One business that I did have a lengthy conversation with, I tried to focus on some of our restaurants and which ones are able to take advantage of the street closures and some of the things that we're doing, and which are not. One of them is just outside the closure area, is Hannah Todd, and was talking with her about what the city can do extra to try to drive some more business there, and help their bottom line.
Thank you. Ms. McIntire.
Good morning. Does my husband count? Because I talked about this morning. In the last 60 days, I've spoken to several business owners, and one in particular that I can recall is talking to the owners of Prohibition Hub, and we're talking about how they can use our incentive programs in order to expand their business and that kind of thing, and watching the business owner's vision come to life is what encourages me to do this job and continue to do this job and continue to want to do this job. So watching the business owners and get exactly what they want and the vision that they see for their industry is really inspiring.
Good morning. So in the last 60 days, probably about 25. I've been really hitting the ground pretty hard. In total, about 60 so far with businesses and entrepreneurs. My main thing is just to understand the permit process. When I spoke with Jay Carter of the Doghouse just last week, he had a lot of stories to share about his process. And from talking to CNO owner, Prohibition Hub, the process seems to be not really consistent. So I want to look into, how to make that process more streamlined. I even reached out to Emily Keller last week to get her insight on how the inspections are supposed to work, what the inspector jobs, what the code is supposed to be. But it seems to me that the process needs to be a lot clearer for everyone, and there needs to be a better inspection process. And that will help businesses come here because they'll have a better customer service experience. Thank you.
Everyone knows that's my favorite. All right, next question. What is your plan for bringing increased private sector investment from outside the greater Hagerstown community? And how would this generate more jobs and economic growth for Washington County? So Ms. Burnett.
Can you repeat the
I
question?
certainly will. What is your plan for bringing increased private sector investment from outside the greater Hagerstown community? And how would this generate more jobs and economic growth for Washington County?
Well, thank you. First, again, with customer service, we need to spread the message that Hagerstown is a place to have a business and to promote, to come here for better incentives. We all know that Hagerstown is a great place to live for just, not, for families, but also for young professionals like myself. So just by spreading the message that Hagerstown is a great place to come, will help bring businesses here and will help, of course, increase jobs. But we have to make sure that it's welcoming for everyone, not just, from small businesses to large corporations, that this is the place that you want to move and also, have your own businesses here and help generate jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Perini.
I think my overall plan would be to, as one of the members said, make Hagerstown more friendly to business. And there's a lot of aspects to that. And I only have 60 seconds, so I'm not going to get into all of that. But I think one of the examples is that we need to give Jill Thompson the tools that she needs to do her job. And they're doing a great job with limited resources, limited tools. Hagerstown's reputation needs to be shinier. We need to be out there when these site selection companies are looking at Hagerstown or looking at cities around the country. Hagerstown doesn't always make the cut. And the way I like to say it is, you guys remember that a little while ago, Amazon kind of had the whole country abuzz by when they announced their search for a second headquarters city. I would like Hagerstown to be the kind of town that Amazon would choose, if we're big enough, to be their second headquarters. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
So a plan for bringing increased private sector investment, more jobs and economic development, was that right? Is that the question?
Yep.
Okay. So I think that my plan would be, is to collaboration over competition, right? Like, I think that it's very important that we promote that with businesses and with business and entrepreneurs in Hagerstown. I think that not only that, in order to recruit outside tax dollars, we have to have more conversations about a better idea. I think that a lot of times we get so caught up in one idea and it creates more division, which then holds up progress. I think that there needs to be more ideas thrown up and then collaboration, and then we go from there to, like the stadium, for instance. It's just an idea. I think that we could have so many more ideas if we just collaborate and use our creative juices. So, yeah.
Ms. McIntire.
My plan is to promote what we're good at. We have to decide whether we want to be a place to live, work, or play. We can't be good at all of it. So I think that we need to decide what we're good at, identify our weaknesses, and promote it and shout it from the rooftops. I think that I will continue to use the ambassador approach. So if there's a developer that comes to town, I would like to see the collaboration of nonprofit and city government and the businesses to come together and really roll out the red carpet and show what we have to offer and create relationships before they even come to Hagerstown to create their business. So I think that that's really key, is to promoting what we're good at, figuring out what we're good at, and really, really shouting it from the rooftops.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey.
I don't know if anybody here was, well, I know some people were, but at the groundbreaking out on Basil Boulevard of the North Point development. It's a $139 million investment in our community, and that's a huge collaboration between the private sector and the governmental entities, the city, county, and state, and the federal. So that's what we need to continue to do. And that all started by a joint meeting in the Elizabeth Hager Center with the CEO of North Point and his entourage and a bunch of people from the city, county, and the state, and the chamber. And we made that happen. And that company is from Kansas City, Missouri, not locally. So we do have the right stuff here. We just need to make sure that we're pointing in the right direction. We're all collaborating to get it accomplished.
Thank you. Mr. Heffernan.
I think the most important thing we can do as a city council is try to make this an easy place to do business. One of the things we've worked on pretty severely trying to address our codes issues and what happens, with a developer or somebody trying to build a building. How do we streamline that process? I know there's been a lot of work done. There's some more work to do on that to make it easy. But we've got to focus on making Hagerstown an easy place to do business. We've got to remove impediments. We've got to kind of think outside the box, rethink how we support development downtown, and do some unique things. Like one of the things we worked on for the last 4 years, I worked on was trying to remove the sales tax impediment to create new business opportunities up at the airport. So those kinds of outside the box things we need to do.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman.
Thanks. So I think that, community development equals economic development. And one of the first things that businesses look at, they'll pull up our quick facts of our community, right? What is our property value? How many of our youth are graduating from high school? How many people here have a post-secondary degree? What does our workforce look like? And we have to build those things to attract business. We can make it easy for businesses to be here, but if we don't have the resources in our community that they need, they're going to look at those quick things that they learn about us and move on. So we have to invest in building our community health and overall wealth and strategy to be a place that business come. We can change our policies, but if we don't have that attractive community that they can raise their business in, bring their families to live in, then they're not going to come here. We need to address our community health.
Thank you. All right. Third question. How important is it to Hagerstown to have recreational assets? If important, how do we attract and develop these assets? And if not, why not? And no, Shelley, your husband doesn't count.
Always counts. Who's watching counts. So can you repeat that?
Let's see. How important is it to Hagerstown to have recreational assets? If important, how do we attract and develop these assets? And if not important, why not?
We listen to what the community wants. As a matter of fact, right now there was a group of people that had come to me and really thought that a skate park was a great idea. So what we did was we formed a committee to do an investigation to see whether a skate park is something that could be helpful. Designated recreational spots like that can curb unlawful behavior. So in order to give our community what they need, we have to listen to what they need. I do think that community assets like that and recreational assets are very, very important in order to create that health of the community that we need.
Mr. Perini.
Well, the answer to the first part is recreational assets are incredibly important to any community, including Hagerstown. And I happen to agree with Councilmember Alshire in that the development of an indoor soccer facility or sports facility in Hagerstown would go a long way. My 3 kids when they were in high school, were all student athletes, even into college, some. I can't even begin to tell you how many early mornings or late nights we were on the road down to Frederick, because that's where the indoor soccer complex was for the fall, winter, early spring season. And I think it's something that could bring tremendous value to our community, and it would certainly support and be beneficial to especially all of the youth in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey.
Ms. Grossman touched on community as a reason that people want to locate here and what they look at. They also look at a place where their people in their downtime can spend their expendable income. So having amenities in the city of Hagerstown for our citizens is crucial. We just had a report last night from the high school sports complex, and that's one of the things we talked about is the importance of amenities such as that in our community. I too agree that we need to focus on an indoor sports complex that can do all those things. And as a matter of fact, we've talked about it over and over and over again, off camera, trying to put the pieces together and what it would cost and who would run it and all those things. There's a lot of logistics put together there, but I believe it can be done, and I believe it can be done affordably, and we can have that amenity in our city.
Thank you. Mr. Burnett.
I'm on it.
So I'd like to echo what Councilwoman Shelley said about community, because she and Councilwoman Emily listened to me when I spoke about the park, the Wheat Park, and how that park needed some renovations. And they came up to me after my rant on Facebook, and my sister Ed Williams worked with Rather Tissue and our local artist Keelan Gant to get the park renovated. So at Wheaton Park, if anyone wants to go by there, check out the really, really cool pavement. That was all done because I made a statement on Facebook, and the city reached out to me. And if I am a city council person, I would like to do the same. But I believe that we should improve the parks that we already have here in place, so the community can feel a sense of pride, get that pride back, and also a sense of home. So improving the parks for a better place, especially in our neighborhoods. Have parks that's welcoming for every age, not just for a certain age group, but for everybody.
Thank you. So this is one of those questions where not everyone gets to answer, so we're moving on. Next question is, what are you prepared to do to work more effectively with the county to move forward on initiatives that enhance the city center core? And we'll start with Ms. Grossman.
So I think, we really need to engage, right? I was asked this question a while ago about working with the county, and maybe we don't need to approach it so seriously always. Maybe as council members and commission members, we need to just spend some time together engaging, sharing ideas, talking about our shared vision for the Washington County as a whole, but also maybe where we differ and come to a common ground, right? To find that we have similar goals and maybe we have competing objectives sometimes, and focus on those similar goals and then how we use those to attract new business, to have county-city partnerships. But I think it has to be getting in the room more frequently together, not just when there is an opportunity, right? We need to be having the conversation, regularly, whether that's a monthly meeting or a bi-monthly meeting, to say we're sitting down, we have protected time, city council, county commissioner time, whether we have a project to work on or not.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
I think that it's very important to remember that we're all public servants, and we've been elected, if elected, to serve the community. And I think that sometimes falls by the wayside. I think a lot of time we get all mixed up in our personal agendas and our personal stuff, and that creates the divisiveness and not being able to work together. So I think that it's just very important to build relationships. And also what Brooke said, you know, not just when you have to be all together for a meeting or all together for whatever, but just, you know, build a relationship. And when you get to know people, you have more of an understanding of why they do what they do. If you don't know people, you don't know why they do what they do. And I think that's important for county commissioners and city council members, like to get in the room together and figure out why it is you do what you do, and then let's work together and collaborate.
Thank you. Mr. Heffernan?
One of the things that I've noticed has really been a detriment to working with the county has been trying to, or having to adhere to the open meetings act. To get together on an impromptu basis with a couple of county commissioners and a couple of city council people, we'll sit down and have some discussions. You can't do that. You need to have an open meeting in order to do that. And the logistics of getting that arranged are not insurmountable, but it's quite an objective, a hurdle to overcome. I think we need to start having more joint meetings and on a regular scheduled basis where we can sit down and discuss the common things that are affecting all of us, like what are we going to do about the 911 center payment? What are we going to do about the inequities of the firefighters reimbursements or contributions from the county? And those things need to be discussed in open meetings.
Thank you. So moving on, next question. Everyone will get a chance to answer this one. It is, our city is becoming more culturally and ethnically diverse. Close to 17% of our residents are African American and 6% are Hispanic. What can you, as a council member, do to help engage minority communities? Ms. McIntire.
Can you repeat the question? I was writing it down so fast.
Our city is becoming more culturally and ethnically diverse. Close to 17% of our residents are African American and 6% are Hispanic. What can you, as a council member, do to help engage minority communities?
I would like to see an economic development program that really focuses on people of color's business. And I'd like to see a targeted campaign for buying local and buying from Black-owned businesses and really supporting that initiative. Maybe that would give more support and help to engage the community. I think that would be a really great place to start, because we give proclamations and we can say all these nice, beautiful things, but I think that actually doing the work to engage and really promoting Black-owned businesses and really encouraging that kind of effort is something that could be very effective to get the minority communities engaged.
Thank you. Ms. Burnett.
Well, I'm glad to hear those statistics went up. I'm born and raised here, so I'm happy to hear that at 17%. So diversity, our local government does not reflect those numbers. So we need to change that as citizens to vote minorities into local office, to have that other aspect that others may not have, and to support those small businesses that are owned by Black owners, and not just to show up when it's time for ribbon cutting, but to also show up when, on a regular Tuesday or Wednesday, make your presence known in the community, not just during election time, but all throughout the year. And they could, engage with you to get ideas about how they, want to see the city change, and you can also have that dialogue back on improvements that we or any council or any elected body can do for them. So engaging with the community and having the bodies reflect as such.
Thank you. Mr. Perini.
I think the most fundamental thing that we can do as a community is to make sure that everyone feels welcome and engaged and part of the conversation. We can really no longer tolerate elected officials having off-the-cuff remarks about that are either racist or implied or what have you. We need to encourage Hagerstown to promote certain communities. And I'm thinking right now, for example, of the work that needs to be done at the Robert W. Johnson Center, which is a fundamental core aspect of the Jonathan Street community. And finally, I think that one of the things that's been a success story is the Bester Community of Hope that's run by Sanmar. And I'd love to figure out how to do those efforts in other parts of the community, other neighborhoods in the community.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
The question, our city is becoming culturally and ethnically diverse to help, and how what to do to help engage. Is that correct? I think that one of the things that, as far as being a mediator, a trained mediator, is the ability to be the bridge. And at the same time, the ability to be able to tell the truth in that moment, right? So I think that the best thing that we can do is learn about other people's cultures, and learn each other's cultures, because if my mannerisms are like this, doesn't mean I'm aggressive. So if you come to me and I'm like this, it doesn't mean that I'm angry or upset. Just culturally, I respond differently, right? So I think that that's so important in Hagerstown. Being in leadership and serving the community for the last 20 years and with the youth, I think that a lot of times we misunderstand Black leaders. We misunderstand Hispanic leaders because we don't understand their culture. So I think that that's very, very important. In order to see Black businesses thrive, we need to understand why people respond the way they do and be able to hear and understand them when they do.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey?
You know, we are becoming a more diverse community, and we're accepting of everyone. And I believe that has been shown throughout probably the last 20 years. Yes, we could do a better job at what we do to include everybody. I mean, everybody can do that better job. But it also means that communities have to reach out to the government also. Every opportunity that we've had that have been brought to the city over the last probably 20 years has been met with open arms and aggressiveness by the city to get things accomplished. And I believe that we need to continue to do that. I also know that Black businesses who come to the city get treated equally, just like everybody else gets treated who comes to the city. And we try very hard to accommodate everybody. You know, someone brought up Jay's a doghouse. That's been a rough haul for him. And I tell you, I feel for him because I understand that there's problems that we have in the city of Hagerstown, but it's not based on the business, it's based on the process. So we have to fix that.
Thank you. Mr. Heffernan?
Well, one of the things about diversity is we're lucky to have a diverse community. We need to celebrate that diversity. We need to figure out ways to get different groups together and stop isolating in different pockets of the city. We need to do something to encourage more residents to get together on a number of items. I know it must have been a year ago or something, we were having a meeting at Robert Wood Johnson. Tekesha actually was moderating it and leading it, did a great job. But the focus there was on race relations, on perceptions, and the comment was made by someone there that how come there are no people of color on the city council? And I mentioned at the time, it surprises me too, given the demographic makeup of our city. Why don't we? And now we have candidates, and I'm very pleased to see that. And I think we need to celebrate that. We need to encourage that. The comment was made about having more participation in the meetings from different community groups, and I think we need to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman?
So I think as leaders, we need to not wait until people come to us and ask for help. Not wait until someone has to make a Facebook post that their park is falling apart. Not wait till a community is coming saying we need your help. We need to know what the needs of our community are, and that's our entire community, right? They should feel as supported as the business owner that's on Potomac Street that will walk into City Hall or text you or call you at any time and ask for help. So we need to be present. We need to not just show up when it's time to cut a ribbon and never go back again until it's time to cut a ribbon because there's a new business there. We need to know what is happening in our community and respond. And we need to create opportunity where minorities-owned businesses or other people of different ethnicities feel included in what we are doing in the community, not that they only come when things are really, really bad and they need help. So I'll stop if we're done.
It's not perfect.
Good decision. All right. Next question, again, everyone will have a chance to answer this one. And it is, ready to write this down?
Am I going first again?
No. What is the role of our police department in meeting community needs? What is your view of community policing? We'll start with Mr. Heffernan.
Thank you. The role of the police department in the community is to be the glue to help the community. One of the things I want to see is more support for our police department to put officers on the street walking neighborhoods, to know the business owners, to know the residents, to know who's supposed to be there, who's not supposed to be there, to live in the community, ideally, that they're policing, and support the community that way. One of the things that's being put together right now is a Citizens Police Advisory Committee, and I think that's a very important thing to get input from the community, and with a revolving board of residents that understand the policies, that can make recommendations for how the policies should be changed perhaps, and things that the community can do to better direct the police department to be supportive of them and vice versa.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
So their role is to protect and to serve, and I think that I believe that also to build relationships within our community. How can we feel protected by people that are officers that we don't know? Everyone has a job to do. I think that we need a healthy police department. We need a fully staffed police department, and we need to make enough money to be able to live in the place that they work in. So I think that it's just very important to know that I don't think that we need police officers doing everything. For instance, I went down to Ray Street a couple of weeks ago. There were 6 black men down there. I'm a storyteller. There were 6 black men down there, and there was a bunch of police officers. And what they did was they allowed me to get in the middle, and they allowed me to be able to talk to the men, and then to come back and talk to them. And I think that that's the important part of community engagement. I think that right then there was a lot of distress going on, and that it wouldn't have helped anybody to lock them up. And it wouldn't have helped anybody if they would have kept screaming the things they were screaming at the police. So I just think it's important to, be able to be a bridge in that.
Thank you. Mr. Perini.
So as was said, we all know the role is to protect and serve. I've had lots of conversations with Chief Kiefer because this is a particular interest of mine. We're dealing with this nationally, police community relations. And one of the things that I'm pretty proud of as a Hagerstonian is that our Hagerstown Police Department has a national certification. And very quickly, so Donna doesn't yell at me, that certification basically says not only do you have to have the right policies, but you have to prove that you're following those policies. And I think Hagerstown Police Department could be a model for all the police departments in the state, as well as maybe in the nation, because of that national certification. Sure, there are things that can be done that can be done better, and the chief has admitted that. The Citizen Advisory Committee is being put together. But at the end of the day, the police have a job to do, and as a council, we have to support their position. Thank you.
Ms. McIntire.
I think that for effective community policing, that trust and communication, solid trust and communication is feel comfortable interacting with our police department. And I think that, based on the statistics that Mr. Peteranecz had said about our diverse community, implicit bias training is very necessary, and it needs to be continued, it needs to be consistent. And I think that by our police and engaging with the community on a regular basis and understanding the needs, I think that's the way to effectively use community policing. Trust and communication is my answer.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey?
The city's community resource officers play an important role in being that bridge between protected serve and the community. We have great guys and girls out there who work hard every day, who are engaged in the community, and I can tell you that HPD has some of the most educated and professional police officers in this country. And we need to celebrate that. They're pushed over the limit most times because, we're shorthanded. There's got to be a way that we can, not only staff them to the point where they have the ability to go and be in the community, but also find a way to pay them so they can do that. I don't know what that answer is. We haven't quite figured that out yet. But I believe that we will get to that point where we can do both.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman?
So the police department's job is to protect and serve us, right? I think that, as Councilwoman McIntire said, that trust needs to be there, but I also think that our role as a council is to ensure that they know what their other resources are, right? If they're dealing with a challenge with homelessness and there's a group of people under a bridge, right, that they know who they can reach out to that can help them with that, because that's not their job. It's not their job to go clean up under the bridge or help somebody find housing. That's other organizations in this community, but we need to make sure that our police department has that additional support wrapped around them so that there's the trust, right? Because otherwise they always are having to go in and be the negative and the bad guy and hold people accountable for things because that's their job. Law and order is their job, right? Somebody's trespassing, I have to hold them accountable, but if they knew who their resources were and who their partners are in this community so that they can be trusted and they can be effective and they don't have all of this other weight on them, I think that's part of our responsibility as a council. I beat your red light.
So, community, our police officers need to know our communities and the police officers. I was with Heffernan for 3 hours in the summer, right at the beginning of the racial national attention that you see on TV. He reassured that his police officers are not like those guys, and I know they're not like those bad apples, I should say. And I spoke to him about how growing up in Bethel Gardens, how there was police officers with bikes that knew us, the kids, very well, and we knew them. So if one of us got in trouble, they knew exactly which household to go to. And he reassured that he's trying to do the same with these officers now. And when I, host our summer basketball leagues at the Ruth Ann Monroe Summer Basketball League, we have officers there that know the community, such as Officer Canode, and that's helpful for not only the bystanders, but also for the players itself, knowing that they're protected by one of their own as well.
Thank you. Right. Next question is, this is highlighted, so as of the latest information, the unemployment rate of Maryland and Washington County was hovering around 8%. The unemployment in Hagerstown was 10.6%. What is your plan to bring Hagerstown out of its economic depression, specifically in the downtown area? We'll start with Mr. Perini.
Well, I think we talked about this and touched on this in one of the earlier questions about economic development. I'm a businessman, I'm a job creator, so I know what it takes to make those kinds of things happen. The mayor spoke briefly about the North Point project and the 1,500 jobs that are coming to Hagerstown. And that's the kind of thing that we need to do. I'd love to see living wage jobs come to Hagerstown. I'd love to see those types of jobs come to downtown Hagerstown, to our core. But I will tell you, a pet peeve of mine is parking. I can't understand how we don't understand this problem. We can't tell a business, come to downtown Hagerstown, you'll have a great place, a nice building, same rent, but you can also go to a place out on Dual Highway. And oh, by the way, if you come to Hagerstown, you got to pay $60 or whatever it is a month per car, per employee to park here. We need to fix that problem.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey.
Can you repeat that, please?
As of the latest numbers, the unemployment rate of Maryland and Washington County was hovering around 8%. The unemployment in Hagerstown was 10.6%. What is your plan to bring Hagerstown out of its economic depression, specifically in the downtown area?
Well, one of the things, and Mr. Perini just touched on again, and I spoke about it earlier, is a collaboration to be able to bring large employers who will employ many people. Ms. Grossman spoke about the problem with workforce development, the problem that people who will go to a job and stay there. One of the great things, the great reasons that North Point chose Washington County was because of our strong work ethic here. And I believe that we have that, and as long as we can help to create the opportunities to be able to bring development such as that to the city of Hagerstown and Washington County, we'll continue to see our unemployment rate drop. One of the things that was touched on earlier about cooperation with the county, that's a two-way street. We also need the county to collaborate with us. And I believe that on important issues they do. But I know there's more that we can do.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman.
Sure, so I think maybe we need to reskill our workforce, right? If we have 10% of our community that's unemployed right now, there's 15,000 jobs between the 4 states in manufacturing and in skilled labor open today, right? So if we have those 10.6% of our population that are not working, we need to connect them to the skills that they need to fill those vacancies that we have. We need to get our young people excited about jobs in the trades, right? Not everybody has to go become an engineer. There's work that you can do right out of high school with the right skill, right, that fills the jobs that we have. Our labor market is not high in IT and lots of professional work. Our two main demands are healthcare and manufacturing. Let's train that workforce to fill those jobs, and then we lower that unemployment rate.
Thank you. Ms. McIntire.
I think in order to get out of this economic depression, I think that we have to concentrate on the businesses that we have here now. We need to make sure that we're providing the resources that they need in order to be successful. So whether that means, I know that other communities around the nation have economic development councils where there are nonprofits and there are businesses and local government and city staff that get together and create local policies and strategies in order to prop up the existing businesses to make sure that everyone is okay. And particularly in this climate, to look to hire people, what people need in order to creatively adjust to COVID. I think that we have to start with our existing businesses before we even decide how to encourage other businesses to come downtown in this particular depression.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
So consistency is a force, and I want to echo what Shelley was saying to strengthen our businesses that are here now. I think what's highlighted and magnified should be changed. I think that in our local newspaper had some very great opportunities during the last since COVID began to begin to highlight different things, and one of them is Ludwig Gordon at the Crab Joint. I think that is something that will get other young people hopeful. And will show, I think that we're lacking hope, and that's why we have an economic depression so locally, is that there's no hope. Where's the hope at? You know, even if we look on social media, a lot of times on social media, it looks like we are just a dysfunctional family or just a dysfunctional mess. And I think that needs to change. And I think what's highlighted and magnified, we need to be even more diverse in that as well.
Thank you. Ms. Burnett?
So we need to continue to increase the foot traffic downtown, and thankfully for the Eats on the Streets, that initiative, we need to continue that year long. And shout out to Tim for creating the Facebook page of Washington County Eats, because I work in Frederick, but I didn't know that a lot of restaurants here until I got on that Facebook page, which everyone came together as a community to support those businesses. You know, everyone was in quarantine, so we really looked out to DoorDash from these local businesses to help feed our stomachs. But increasing foot traffic and encouraging the community to support these businesses so they'll have more income coming in, so they can hire people. I know a lot of them had to let some people go because of COVID, but if we continue to show up and continue to have more programs circled around those businesses, we'll be better off.
Thank you.
So there's some near-term things we need to do and some strategic things we need to do. The near-term things, a lot has been said about bringing people downtown, supporting existing businesses and all that. Strategically, I don't know if anybody knows or not, but before I moved here in 2015 to start an aircraft reconstruction business, I was in high-tech manufacturing my whole career prior to that. Every place that the major companies that I worked for looked to put a new plant, a high-tech plant, there was one key factor. They had to have the educational infrastructure in that community to be able to train and supply the high-skilled labor force that was necessary. So strategically, if we want to just keep creating box-pushing jobs, which that's great, but that's not where we want to be long term. If we want high-tech jobs, we want IT jobs, we want that kind of salary structure, we need to really embellish our education infrastructure.
Thank you. I want to thank Melissa for me keeping my hand in my pocket. So Next question. Hagerstown always seems to be taking one step forward and two steps back economically. How do you propose growing the needed tax base necessary to ensure that our infrastructure and community assets continue to improve and grow? We will start with Mr. Bruchey.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but if you look at North Point, that is going to be a huge addition to our tax base. The city of Hagerstown, years ago in 2004, implemented a pre-annexation policy for development outside the city boundaries that needed water and sewer. And we did that because for decades, development happened outside the city of Hagerstown, which utilized that infrastructure and never helped to pay to replenish that infrastructure using. So, in recent months, we've just began the annexation process of properties out by the Valley Mall because 16 years ago they signed a pre-annexation agreement that said when they became contiguous, they would be annexed to the city of Hagerstown. And these are properties that currently will add to our tax base without adding to the cost of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Ms. McIntire.
I would say that we normally would take two steps backwards, but like the mayor said, we've taken about 6 steps forward with the North Point development. And things like that, where, just like the mayor said, the collaboration between the state and the federal government and the county commissioners and the city was magical. It it really was. And to be able to do that, to have such a developer come to our county, to come to our city and want to develop, just encourages more growth. So we can only hope that things like that and the collaborative efforts and the organization that was put into that effort is something that we can continue in order to increase our tax base and just encourage more jobs, more jobs, more jobs.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman?
Sure, so I think, I said earlier, community development equals economic development, right? And so when those 1,500 people get jobs at North Point, I want them to buy homes in the city of Hagerstown, not in Sharpsburg, not outside of the limits. So I want to create opportunities for people to know more about the home store, to know about the home buying programs we have here in town, and to strengthen our neighborhoods, right? We need neighborhoods where people go outside and say hello, and people feel safe in town, so they want to buy that house and live in the downtown area. You want to go outside and pick up the trash just because it's there, not because you're mad, not because of, you're going to complain about it later, that you are investing in the community. And I think that if we build our neighborhoods up and we have places that when those people get the jobs that are going to allow them to purchase a home that they want to live in the city, we'll be expanding our tax base.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey is definitely pick up the trash in front of your home.
Oh my God, you really? Pick it up.
All right. Next question. How will you balance the needs of the community, expectations of the city's union and employee groups, and the needs for the city-funded economic development with the financial resources of the city? We'll start with Mr. Frey. In 60 seconds.
I think if you had the actual answer to that question, you could bottle it and make $1 trillion. But look, the reality is it's about relationships. When you're talking about the needs of the unions, those folks have to live. I mean, they're negotiating for their salaries, for their wages, for their benefits, so that they can have what we've all been talking about, which is, a living wage and, a good life and take care of their kids. When we talk about the needs of the community, I mentioned an example of Robert W. Johnson Center not too long ago. I mean, that's a significant need that I think the city needs to invest in. And I also mentioned earlier that, we need to put more tools in the toolbox for the city's economic development department and give them the real incentives that can bring businesses here to Hagerstown. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burnett.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Certainly. How will you balance the needs of the community, expectations of the city's union and employee groups, and the needs for city-funded economic development with the financial resources available to the city?
So we need to reach out to the community. We need to continue having programs to further get individuals' skills. People need to have these job skills to go into the workforce, but they need to know that the city has their back. Even younger kids, having that information at a young age would be very helpful, as well as young adults. Not everybody is built to go to college, so. And I'm a science background, so I would love for everybody to go to college and study science, but that's not for everybody. But we need more people that can get their hands dirty and is not afraid to do so. So the city needs to further provide more programs for that. And as far as infrastructure, we need to continue buying buildings and renovate them for other businesses, and the new dental office to encourage more properties to be bought and encourage more jobs for those new businesses in those once blated abandoned buildings.
Thank you. Mr. Heffernan.
So balancing the needs of the city and the community, balancing that with the needs of the union employees and doing economic development, it all comes down to being good stewards of our tax dollars. We have to make choices as a council, and in my opinion, that is the key job of a council person, is to be a good steward of the tax dollars. We need to figure out how to increase our tax revenue without increasing taxes. Our taxes are already too high. We need to look at annexations, the programs that we have in place right now to do that. We need to figure out how to raise our property tax revenue by increasing the value of our properties. Year after year after year, you see a devaluation of our homes and our business properties in the city. With the state, when the state comes by every 3 years and does their assessment. We need to see that turned around and go in a different direction.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Integrity of leadership is very important. In order to be able to balance the needs of community, economic development, and expectations of union, you have to have integrity as a leader. And I think that also the key is relationships, right? Relationships matter. I think that when things come against, so conflict is also inevitable, and no one is above discussing or working through their conflict. Conflict has to happen. I think that it's very important that when your position is being challenged or what you're represented is being challenged, to not take that personal. And that's how I plan to balance, is that I don't take it personal. Being a leader, there's no need to blame shift anyone or anything. It's about being the solution. A lot of times as leaders, we are the solution acting like the problem. And the way to be the solution is to be able to balance everybody's needs. We all want to go home to a safe community and our children to grow up in a safe place. We all want to be able to pay our bills. We want the same things. So I think that the integrity of leadership is very, very important.
Thank you. Next question. The city may be facing shrinking tax revenue. How do you prioritize what gets funding and what does not? We'll start with Ms. Burnett.
Well, priority would be to focus on the needs of the people, focus on the needs of the businesses. I don't know if it was this one, but there was another question I answered recently about funding for a third parking deck, which I think would be of no value right now, especially because we're still in a pandemic and jobs have been lost. So until we have more businesses here, it would make more sense to have a third parking deck. But we can't fill it up now if we're not having our businesses open like we would like to. So priority, feed the kids, of course, but definitely feed the businesses and feed the people that encourage people to come here to start businesses versus spending on a parking deck, for instance.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey. Certainly. The city may be facing shrinking tax revenue. Therefore, how will you prioritize what gets funding and what does not?
Well, I will tell you, the question should be, the city is facing shrinking tax revenue, not maybe. We prioritize to be fiscally responsible every single budget year. This year, during the budget sessions, and basically our budget was set pre-COVID. So when COVID hit, everything changed, everything. So now what we're doing is we're prioritizing basically a weekly budget now. What we're going to do, how we're going to do it, what comes first, what comes last. But we need to make sure that our people are safe. We need to make sure that we continue to keep the water on, and when you flush the toilet, the water goes away. We need to make sure we do those kind of things, and that's where the priority is currently. But we will continue, and we'll get through this, and Donna's going to redline me. So
I think you're just challenging it. I was also going to say, I didn't write the question, but Mr. Frey.
Before I get into my specific answer, I'm going to respectfully disagree with Tiara. I think the idea of parking is essential, as I mentioned earlier. And an additional parking deck, I think, is an important part of what we need to do. Given the fact that COVID is probably 6 to 8 months from being under control. I think in the fact that it takes years to develop a project like that, now is the time for elected leaders to be looking forward to the future of the development that we need in the community. But the answer to your question is essential services. So, as was mentioned, you know, when you turn the water on, you want the water to come on. When you turn the light switch on, you want the lights to come on. When you call 911, you want the fire department to show up, you want the police department to show up. So essential services are obviously the priority, and then working down through those community services that everybody would love to have. Thank you.
So I just want to point out he answered like 2 questions in 6 seconds.
Get better.
Mr. Heffernan.
The easy answer is we have to be good stewards of our tax dollars, and that base is shrinking. What do we put our priorities on? It's got to be public safety, and public safety for several reasons. One, we all deserve to be safe, but 2, the perception of public safety. We are constantly fighting the battle of the reputation that Hagerstown's not safe downtown. We keep fighting that, and putting our emphasis on public safety and on the presence of police officers downtown and in our communities will do a lot to dispel that. The other things right closely following that is the utilities. We've got to have our strong utilities and our infrastructure, streets, and keeping the city looking. That will spark more interest by entrepreneurs, by businesses to come in and do a lot to attract developers to redevelop our downtown.
Thank you. Next question. Like all cities across this country, Hagerstown's small businesses are under great economic stress due to the pandemic. What should the council consider as they look to better support small businesses? Start with Ms. Tina.
Okay. So I want to say that the crab joint, which began during a pandemic, began in my kitchen first. And how that happened was young people. Young people seen that there wasn't something here that they liked. They put their minds together and they began to work together out this secret sauce, out this menu. So I think that the important thing is to get behind the young people. The crab joint is successful right now, not just because Ladrique is an amazing businessman, but also Ladrique is a community. Ladrique people go and support Ladrique because of who he is. I think that it's just very important that we nurture that and that we get behind young people and their ideas. I'm gifted with young people. I can sit with them and hear them and understand them and then trust them to lead the way. And I think that a lot of times we spin ourselves in circles trying to figure it out ourselves, and we have this next group of trailblazers that have ideas that they don't have to meet about. All they do is just delegate to each other and they get it done.
Can you repeat the question?
Like all cities all across this country, Hagerstown's small businesses are under great economic stress due to the pandemic. What should the council consider as they look to better support small businesses?
Thank you. Well, we've done it. It's not completely back to normal yet, but we were able to close down a part of Peteranecz Street in order to allow the businesses to use outdoor dining. When it was a curbside service, we were able to adjust and pivot. Brooke, I figured you'd like that. We were able to pivot and make decisions and get creative. It's the only way, because no one knows what's going on. No one knows what's happening in the future. But in order for us to be able to be supportive and in order for them to feel supported, we have to get creative and lower the barriers in order for them to have the success that they need.
So I also think that we need to look at the small businesses that are thriving in the time of the pandemic, those that are being successful, being creative, being young, coming in, and figure out then how do we get that energy and that education to those businesses that might not be thriving right now. Should get an extra 2 seconds for that. But what do we need to do? We need to go and door knock and right? But we need to hear them, and then we need to come back as leadership and try to craft solutions to support them. Does every small business in Hagerstown know that SOAR is a resource to them? You know, did every small business in Hagerstown apply for the small business grant opportunity that came through? We know the answer is no, and we need to figure out why. And that is by going and asking. Again, not waiting for them to come to us.
Thank you. All right, next question. Everyone gets a chance to answer this one. COVID aside, the city continues to grapple with addiction and homelessness. Do you believe enough has been done to meet these challenges? And if not, what more should the city and county be doing? Start with Mr. Heffernan.
Yes, we have a problem, and we're trying to deal with it, but we haven't done enough. In the issues of addiction, we've got to have a good mix of treatment centers and options for people who want to take that step and change their life. We also need to do a lot more to shut down the drug trade in our city. We are an open environment, and you can hear stories time after time from residents of the things that go on in their yard, in their business, and things they have to deal with. So we need to recraft a lot of our ordinances. We've got a lot of out-of-date ordinances in the city, and we need to strengthen them. We're going to need a lot of help from the state to do that, because a lot of what's keeping us from doing that right now are that we cannot produce an ordinance with more severe penalties than the state.
Thank you. Mr. Perini.
So that's an excellent question, and I think it's probably the most significant question that you've asked all morning. And, you know, we probably could spend the rest of the day talking about addiction and homelessness. But I'll just sum it up with this. I'm a huge proponent and supporter of Washington Goes Purple. I think the more education, the more awareness that we can put out there in the community is working, and the more that we can do, the better. Homelessness is really a tough nut to crack. And a lot of people think that homelessness is, okay, these are people from Hagerstown that are just without a home. And that's not necessarily the case. Hagerstown is a destination for homelessness. And I think we need to really spend a good amount of time looking at that, understanding what the drivers are, and then figuring out what our solutions are. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grossman.
So I think first, in addressing either addiction or homelessness, the thing that we need to answer for ourselves is that nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants to be homeless. Nobody wants to be addicted. I promise you, buses of people are not driving here from Florida so they can be homeless in Hagerstown. It's not happening. And the place that I think, while, you know, those initial really intensive interventions are needed, the place that we need to do better, and I don't necessarily know that this is a council's job, it may be to connect places in our community for this. We're not going to start programs, we're going to support programs. But is the what happens after? So I got sober. What's next? Where can I work? Where can I live? How can I thrive? So I went from living under a bridge to having my own apartment. So what? What's next? And so again, I don't think our job as council members is to create a new program. I think our job is to make the connections in our community, and if our nonprofit community says we need a resource, we may need to go advocate at the state level to get the money here to support those creative programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bruchey.
At the risk of having something thrown at me by Ms. Keller, I am going to agree that Washington Goes Purple is a great program, because I believe that what's happening with the educational end of it in our schools and educating our children will reap huge rewards in the future. I don't believe we're answering the question of what's happening today correctly. There are two sides to this. Number one, yes, those who need treatment and want to seek treatment should get treatment. Number two, those who don't want to be treated and don't want to seek treatment And if you believe that doesn't exist, I can tell you stories that it does. So those individuals need to have consequences associated with their actions. Treat the ones who want treated, save those people. We should save everybody. The ones who don't, turn back ones. The ones who don't want treated, there has to be consequences.
Thank you. Ms. Burnett.
60 seconds. No, there's not enough. This work being done because there's people still dying, there's people still living on the streets. So we need to continue to support those treatment centers, and we also need to continue to look into the mental illnesses of people both on addiction and also homeless. By addressing those traumas could help them so they won't turn to drugs. Having our youth have more programs for them to get involved in will also help not for them to turn to drugs. Also, help supporting the shelters that we do have in place. I made a post recently about when I talked to Deidre Norris from It's a Blessing to be a Blessing, and she mentioned how we need to have more shelters for situational shelters for more families, mothers, children, and also for the youth. So we should look into furthering that aspect of getting more shelter, getting more opportunities for people to have jobs, and also addressing the mental health of individuals that are addicted or to avoid them from becoming addicted.
Thank you. McIntire.
We are doing a much better job at reducing the stigma of homelessness and addiction. During my time in office, I've been able to spearhead and create programs that have addressed this. The Bridge to Change program, which allows our homeless population to help our city and to clean our streets and to also give them purpose. And the Washington County Recovers event, where people with substance use disorders can get immediate access to treatment. And although it's not the City Council's job in order to create those programs, but because we have so many operational organizations that are working in silos, we have to connect them and make sure that we are being effective to reduce homelessness and to reduce addiction. It's not an easy overnight solution, but I do think that the county, thanks to Washington Goes Purple with the awareness and all of the programs that go underneath of that, I think that we are doing a much better job, but we have a long, long way to go.
Ms. Martinez.
It's a tough one for me. It's very personal. Just Monday, I believe. Monday, I met Brooke at her office. First of all, Sunday, me and Brooke met at Sheets, right across the street, in the field with some people that were homeless, and hearing their concerns. One of them, like, the bathroom. If we had a bathroom right here, I get like 3 more seconds. If we had a bathroom right here, people wouldn't be going to the bathroom in homeowners' yards. And even if they paid me, I would be the one cleaning it up. Like, these were stories that we were hearing out there. We were hearing like they have there was one guy that couldn't go get his medicine. He's like, I can't go in and get my medicine because all I have is my prison ID. But I can send you, which you are a complete stranger, in to pick up my medicine with your ID. And I think that the next morning I met one of the guys with Brooke, and we walked through some things. And I think that I'm just being someone who was once homeless and coming through all that stuff, and whose mom was addicted and all of that, like I'm in the midst of my trauma and being triggered, and at the same time want to make sure that I'm not enabling. So it was just good to sit with Brooke and be able to hear the different ways to be able to help them.
Thank you. I counted 3 extra seconds.
Thank you.
Actually, everybody is getting 5 extra
I
seconds.
did.
So, how do you know? You're actually already getting your extra 9.
Before or after the light?
That's before the light. I turned the light on at 5 extra seconds.
We're auditioning to do presidential debates. All right. Last question. Almost there. You get 60 seconds, Donna.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Originally Why should we vote for you? Mr. Bruchey.
Well, there's countless reasons too, but I'll just touch on a couple. One is because I was born here, I grew up here. I've watched the city of Hagerstown through its challenges over the 60 plus years. I've been the mayor of the city of Hagerstown roughly 15 years come November, off and on. And, I can tell you that I have a history, I have knowledge, I can bring that knowledge to the council table. I'm fiscally responsible, I'm compassionate, I do have empathy. I know at times people think I don't, but I do. I believe that Hagerstown's best days are still to come. I want to be a part of that, and I want to make sure that I represent the people every single day as I have for the last 15 some years as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to go down the table.
So as a lifelong resident of Hagerstown, I am very familiar of how far we've come, and I would like to continue the progress that we're making. I'm very comfortable to talk to, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on the street from the voiceless, and having that exchange with the people has been very beneficial with this campaign because I'm learning so much about them, and I'm also learning about this whole process. I'm not a politician, so I just a regular person, so I like to evaluate, I like to research before I start making really strong decisions. I like to get other people's consideration before making those decisions, especially if it impacts their lives. I am very go-getter, I'm very a team player, I like to get my hands dirty, I'm very optimistic. It's so hard talking about myself, but vote for me because the city needs a change, and we need more young people to step up and to start voicing their concerns and start getting some stuff done.
Sure, so I think, I hope that you all walk away from here this morning feeling like I'm authentic and transparent, right? I will make jokes in the middle of the city council forum when I'm meant to be serious. That's just who I am. But the other thing I would hope that you walk away from here is knowing that I'm passionate about this community and that I know that we have really complex social issues that we need to address, but that we also have a fiducial responsibility to our community, and that given kind of I have a unique, I'm like a unicorn, right? I get the budget side and the people side. I have the skill set to do that, and I have a track record in the human service world of bringing federal and state resources, large amounts, into this community. I sit on the governor's agency or interagency council on homelessness, and currently, we've proposed a pilot project that would address some of this homelessness and economic development that we were talking about. So it's just, I care about Hagerstown deeply, and at the base of it, I'm a mom of 5 kids that I don't want to leave and go away. I want them to live here and invest in our community, so I need to help create that place that they're going to stay in. Thank you.
So I'm not originally from the area. I chose to make Hagerstown my home. I chose to start a business here. And I want to create the same desire in other people. I'm not a politician. I have no desire to be a career politician. I signed on or applied for the opening on the city council when there was a vacancy because there were a lot of things that I saw that I didn't like about the way our tax dollars were being managed and things that were happening or not happening in our city. And so I wanted to help. That's what I will continue to do. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think being a good steward of our tax dollars, focusing on public safety, and focusing on the ordinances that drive our community and drive what we can do and what we can't do and what we have to deal with here are very important. I'm looking to make this a more attractive place for other business.
So, Ella Baker says strong people don't need strong leaders. And I think that's why you should vote for me, is that I'm not going to sit around and say how strong I am or how much I can do, or I can save the town, or I'm not going to give that to the people. I am the same at home as I am at church, as I am as a performance poet, as I am in any meeting. I'm the same. I have the integrity to be the same. Also, I'm going to ask hard questions, and I'm going to ask those things that that people sometimes want to tiptoe around. And the reason why is because adversity has to be there, and a lot of time we think in order to get to peace, there doesn't need to be any confrontation, and that's not true. In order to get to peace, we have to confront it, and we have to understand that all things can work together. And if we all work together, we will have a much stronger community. I love Hagerstown. Hagerstown is good ground. I've been saying it even when all hell was breaking loose. It didn't matter. Hagerstown is good ground. My trauma has been my training. I promise to always be present. And no matter how much it hurts, I'm going to get up and keep fighting.
Why should we vote?
As a current Hagerstown City Councilwoman, I feel the frustrations with our city. And no one should have to wonder whether or not their voice makes a difference. And throughout my time in office, I've been able to create and programs where I've seen the power of the community's voice and the positive change that can happen. I want people to share their vision with me. I want them to sit back and watch their ideas get put into action and creating the Hagerstown that they've always wanted. I am very passionate about this city and believe in the potential of this city. And I want to make everyone love the place that they live. I want to be able to create a Hagerstown that everyone loves.
I have a question. All right. First of all, thank you again to the Chamber for hosting this forum, recording it. Thank you all for those who came out this morning in the chilly Hagerstown fall weather. I'm a job creator. I'm a businessman. I've worked in all aspects of business, large business and small businesses. Matter of fact, one of the businesses that I was CEO of had more employees than the city of Hagerstown has. And so I understand all of the aspects of running an organization, from human resources to contracting, including economic development. But I also have relationships that I bring to the table: political relationships, business relationships, community relationships. I'm running for the Hagerstown City Council because Hagerstown has tremendous potential, and I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and helping Hagerstown meet that potential. So thank you, and I ask that you please vote for Peter Perini for City Council. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
First of all, let's thank Aaron for moderating. Good job. Aaron and the rest of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee worked hard on this with input from our membership, meeting on a regular basis to form these questions. I think we had some good topics to cover. Also, I'd like to thank our incumbents, our challengers running for office. Thank you for putting yourself out there, for your passion. I'm not sure where Penny Knight is this morning. We expected her. And Kristen could have been communication. He's been on vacation. We thought we'd see him. So we're sorry we missed them. We thank the rest of you for being here. I'd like to thank Dwight Park and Jamison Doors again. Thank you for your support. A round of applause. I'd also like to acknowledge Team Chamber, Tiffany and Brianna and Donna in charge of the clock. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for your work. You know, we heard some things here around communication, relationships, understanding other people, their cultures, and collaboration. And so I'm impressed, first of all, by all the candidates for your work, for your homework, again, for your passion. I'm excited that we have a race ahead of us. We have some great candidates to consider. We don't endorse candidates. We ask you to be knowledgeable and to vote. The business community and our citizens are begging for these leadership characteristics that we've talked about. I mean, begging. And so I'm hopeful that those of you who are elected will lead us, and those maybe who aren't elected will help support the rest. A couple other quick announcements. Tomorrow evening, again, at Beacon House, 5 o'clock, 4,750 reasons to attend. You can go to hagerstown.org and register before tomorrow at noon. We have more coffee to go. Great coffee if you need it. Otherwise, we'll see you hopefully, if not tomorrow evening, next Wednesday morning.